Hello, welcome to the Wrestling Show. I'm Doc Allen. Today I'll be covering Game Changer Wrestling Say You Will, which was held January 15th, 2022 from the Grand Sports Arena in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Commentators were Kevin Gill and Dave Prazak, and the venue looked to be packed to capacity. The opener was a six-way scramble with Alex Zane, Dante Leon, Nick Wayne, Ninja Mac, Dark Sheik, and Gringo Loco. And I've been saying a lot lately that these scramble matches in GCW have started to become kind of old hat, or predictably consistent in that they're enjoyable, but they don't really amount to a whole lot most of the time. They're kind of like fun little spot fests to open the show or to bring us back from intermission, and I usually prefer them as openers, so I was glad to see it in this spot here. This, however, really pulled out all the stops. It was like the six guys and gal sat down and discussed how to make this a really special spot fest, to really get the show off on a good note. So the bell rang, they did their usual thing, the ring emptied so that 2 or 3 people could take turns hitting spots at a time. Alex Zane got the first big spot when he piled up several opponents for a somersault senton. Leon then hit a double avalanche bulldog into a drop kick. Dark Sheik then hit a German suplex while bridging into a pin. Zane used Sheik as a weapon. Zane then hit a Super Rana, followed by an immediate German suplex to pile up opponents. Sheik bounced off the back of Zane to hit Gringo with a double stomp, and then she punched Wayne right in his manhood, which might be a crime because he's only 16. So hopefully the local authorities aren't keeping a close eye on what this sophomore in high school is doing in his after-school activities, right? So Gringo Loco then hit Sheik with a military press facebuster. Mac leapt off of Zane, but Gringo piled to them both for a flying splash. Leon hit a twisting press, but Ninja Mac surprised them with a flying kick. Gringo Loco then hit a creative twisting slam for a 2 count. Wayne ambushed with a standing Spanish fly, and then hit a corkscrew press to outside. Ninja Mac followed up with a back handspring plancha. Leon showed off by hitting a twisting plancha as well. And then Gringo double stacked 2 opponents, and Sheik hit the biggest Doomsday device ever onto Wayne. This was at ringside of 2 people piled up on each other's shoulders. Ninja Mac then finished the stunt with a Doomsday Tope Suicida, and this is about where I was just losing it. Gringo Loco then hit an avalanche sit-out powerbomb on Ninja Mac to win at only 8 minutes and 50 seconds. So this was easily the best scramble I've seen in GCW. It felt like the competitors all knew that these had become kind of mundane and pulled out all the stops. And I might be overrating this a little bit, but I gave it 4 stars. I was just all action, all creativity, and like I've said before, if you get bogged down complaining about the lack of psychology in these scramble matches, you're really missing the point, because what exactly is the psychology supposed to be when you have 6 people thrust into a situation where it's every person for themselves and they need to win and win quick? Because you could easily lose the match without being involved with a finish whatsoever. Up next, we had Tony Deppen versus Speedball Mike Bailey. They started off by playing to the crowd for cheers, and Deppen flipped off some fans for booing him. Bailey offered a friendly handshake, but Deppen mocked with a crane pose. They ran the ropes. Bailey scored a chest kick. Deppen laughed maniacally while they traded forearm shots. Deppen then hit a shotgun dropkick to set up a wild flipping tope. Bailey answered with a moonsault to outside. Bailey followed with double knees to the chest. Bailey faked Deppen out with a chop and unleashed an aggressive burst of offense. Deppen angrily blocked a kick and slapped the face. Deppen hit a leaping codebreaker for a 2 count. And I'm going to say that the 2 counts in this match, unlike some other recent Deppen matches I've seen, felt hot and well earned. The crowd was with them throughout. Then they did that spot where they trapped each other by the wrists and traded stiff shots. and Bailey hit his rather comedic-looking flurry of kicks. I saw him do this spot recently on the Hard to Kill pre-show, and the people I was watching with all like chuckled at it. So the spot looks funny, and I don't think it's meant to look funny. So Bailey might consider putting that move away. So Deppen kicked Bailey outside, but Bailey recovered with an acai moonsault. Bailey got distracted by the fans chanting, "Speed, speed, speed, F and ball." And Deppen was able to hit a superplex and hold on to it for a what they called a chicken mutilation, because it looked like cattle mutilation, but it came from a chicken wing position. Bailey got the rope break at the last second, which earned them the "This is awesome" chant. Deppen then hit a tombstone pile driver for 2, but Bailey answered with a standing Spanish fly. Bailey missed his second rope shooting star press, but recovered for a blistering driver, which Deppen kicked out of, and the crowd was really into that near fall. Bailey's next shooting star attempt was blocked by Deppen's midair dropkick. Bailey recovered with a double knees moonsault, but Deppen pulled the tights to reverse the roll-up and win the match at 12 minutes and 37 seconds. So this was a really good exhibition that did a lot of little things right and had the fans buying all the false finishes. This was a good comeback match for Deppen after a couple times I've been less than impressed with him. So the only real criticism I would have here is some of the offense looked a little silly, like Bailey's flurry of kicks, which I mentioned before. So overall, I would give this match 3 stars and a quarter. Up next, we had Blake Christian versus Bandito. Bandito offered up a handshake and a hug, and they started with some friendly grappling. Blake shifted the tone of the match when he attempted a blindside clothesline, and then they really started going at it. They traded some stuff. Bandito hit the 3 amigos for a near fall. Blake then surprised with a low Death Valley driver and then a double stomp to the chest. Blake went on offense, but accidentally chopped the ring post, and despite that setback, he kept hitting chops. So I don't really know what the point of that spot was if it wasn't going to factor into a story, but I digress. Bandito retaliated with a back handspring cutter, followed by a soaring dive, and then the West Coast pop for a really nice near fall. Blake then sidestepped to send Bandito outside for a shotgun dive that sent Bandito bouncing into the 3rd or 4th row. They went back to the ring where Blake hit a springboard forearm to the back of the head. Blake then hit a springboard moonsault for a 2 count, and then they had a typical slap fest until Bandito hit a backbreaker onto his knees, followed by a cutter and a driver for a very good near fall. They took a breather on their backs, and then Bandito hit a crucifix bomb. Christian answered with a somersault senton to outside. Blake followed with a low 619 and springboard 450 splash, but Bandito kicked out. Frog splash by Blake also got a 2 count, and "This is awesome" chant. Blake then hit a brainbuster and got the win out of nowhere at 19 minutes 12 seconds. So this was a very good athletic match. It got the crowd going. They worked hard to earn their near falls, and I did feel like the finish was a tad anticlimactic, but in their minds they might have. I don't think it had the intensity they thought they had at that point, but this was just shy of 4 stars. I gave this 3 stars and 3/4. I think they just needed to do a little bit of tightening up here and there, especially with like that chop to the ring post that ended up not meaning anything. So then Blake joined commentary and put himself over as the next Ring of Honor champion because he beat Bandito, who sometimes still argues he is the Ring of Honor champion. And then he settled in to watch his potential opponents for the Hammerstein Ballroom pay-per-view, because the next match was a Ring of Honor World Championship match with champion Jonathan Gresham defending against Too Cold Scorpio. Crowd gave them a dueling chant at the bell. They did some friendly mat wrestling, reached a stalemate, and then the match kind of shifted into a story where Gresham tried to match power with the bigger Scorpio's power, and it wasn't working. He kept getting knocked off his feet, and it was really shaping up to look like that Scorpio was going to inexplicably win the championship. He had the champion reeling for a while, and they were able to get across the story of Gresham having to dig down deep and really adjust his plan and mount up enough might to match Scorpio's power. So Gresham was able to hang in with Scorpio for a slugfest and then blasted him with an enziguri. Gresham then hit a German suplex, but Scorpio then hit a back kick to his gut. Gresham dodged a series of kicks and hit a second German suplex. Scorpio then, now looking like he was getting desperate, countered with a snapmare and a flip into the buckles to break Gresham's sleeper attempt. Scorpio then pauses to tease a dive, but then Gresham pulled him into a sleeper for the submission victory at 14 minutes and 1 second. So this was an interesting match, with Gresham being forced to adjust his tactics to put away a wily veteran. I gave this 3 stars and 1/4. Up next, Scorpio insists on standing up on his own, rejecting the offer to help stand up from Gresham. And so he stumbles up, and then he kind of talks some smack at Gresham, makes sure Gresham understands that he almost beat him, and then accepts the handshake and hug. So Scorpio takes off, and Christian enters the ring for a short stare down with Gresham, and the table has been set for their Hammerstein Ballroom title match. So then we had a GCW Extreme Championship Match with Pco defending against AJ Gray. And this was a hardcore brawl, and it was a pretty clunky one. The phrase bowling shoe ugly really fit here. But despite that, I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it was entertaining. PCO repeatedly went to the well of going for various somersault sentons off of various furniture through various other furniture. You know, like off the ropes, off the apron, through chairs, through doors. There was an unfortunate spot where PCO used the referee for leverage to do a tightrope walk, and it looked like he was going to try a split-legged moonsault from the tightrope position, but he totally botched it and took a bad, clunky landing onto Gray. But PCO was able to laugh it off and continue on unscathed. And the crowd, there were a few like "you effed up" chants, but the crowd generally were good sports about it. So they kept dishing out punishment, and then late in the match, PCO kind of went into his Frankenstein monster mode, where he started to no-sell some pretty devastating attacks. PCO draped Gray over 4 standing chairs for yet another flying senton, but then he missed a moonsault and crashed through the standing chairs. Gray turned the chairs around so that the spines were together, and PCO reversed him with a weak choke slam to leave him leaning against the pile of chairs. PCO climbed the ropes, but Gray got up to body slam him through the chairs, which PC totally no-sold. But then Gray repeatedly knocked him down with a flurry. And then Gray hit, I think it was like his 3rd lariat for a 1 count, his 5th lariat for a 2 count, and then a 6th lariat for the 3 count in the pinfall at 14 minutes, 52 seconds. So I actually thought that finish was pretty clever, especially giving a gritty payoff to what's kind of a cartoonish thing that PCO does, where he becomes like an undead, monster. So not everything here looked good, and there were some really unwise, unprotected chair shots to the head, but overall it was fun, so I gave it 2 stars and 3/4. So up next, MLJ plugs the World and GCW pay-per-view for the Hammerstein Ballroom, which is sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon. And he gets interrupted by Matthew Justice, who feels left out and wants to fight someone. And he's answered by Atticus Kogar and some 4 Ohio goons. And Justice falls to a 3-on-1 beatdown. Kogar gets out the skewers, but Jordan Oliver showed up for a failed rescue. And then Manders arrived to clear out the bad guys. Oliver served Kogar up for Manders' power slam, but Kogar slipped away before Justice could fly onto him. And Kogar left Gregory Iron behind as the sacrificial lamb. So up next we had Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green coming to the ring to massive boos. Green did her best Stephanie McMahon impression and addressed the GCW universe to even bigger heat and shut the F up chants. She complained about being gored by Rhino last night when he was trying to gore Cardona, and Cardona kind of sacrificed her. But she says that she and Matt are better than ever, and she puts over Cardona as the new ECW television champion, which, according to Wikipedia, for what it's worth, is an official title change. Cardona wants the fans to show his wife some effing respect when talking, and he rebrands GCW as Green Cardona Wrestling, and brags about ending Rhino's 20-year title reign. Cardona then told a story about how he wrote to Paul Heyman when he was the head writer of Monday Night Raw, and sent him a heartfelt letter about how he wanted an opportunity. And then 2 days later, he was released. So therefore, Cardona does not care what Heyman thinks about the ECW TV title. He can kiss Cardona's ass, and he drops the ECW TV title into a trash bin with the sarcastic, "I'm sorry, I love you," bit of mockery. Cardona then brands himself the king of the boy band Express and sings a Bye 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 parody about kicking Ricky Morton's ass, which led us to Matt Cardona versus Ricky Morton, which was a short, lively match that Morton ended up winning with a roll-up pretty quickly at about 5 minutes and 56 seconds. The crowd popped for the surprise quick victory, and I'm not sure I would have recommended having Cardona lose right before the big Hammerstein Ballroom pay-per-view, but the match had heat, and it was good for what it was. Just a good short match at 2 stars. So then Cardona got back on the microphone, and he pretended to apologize for all of his behavior towards Morton, who he grew up watching. And of course, it's a swerve, as Chelsea Green low-blowed Morton, leaving him vulnerable to a beatdown with Cardona. This brought out Joey Janela for the save, and Joey gets on the microphone and he promises to hunt Cardona down and sacrifice him at the ballroom, and he'll see Chelsea later tonight. Wink, wink. If you missed it, there's been a really funny Twitter exchange where Joey Janela keeps posting pictures of him and Chelsea Green hanging out in their swimsuits by a pool, and it's pretty clear that they're all in on the joke, but they're Cardona keeps throwing fits about it on Twitter, and Chelsea keeps saying things like, "No, babe, it's photoshopped." But yeah, I can't really do justice to it. You should go check it out. So then we had Kylie Ray versus Allie Catch. They shake hands and lock up, and then they gradually turn up the intensity while getting increasingly annoyed at each other for countering each other's holds. Ray's smile starts to slip, and we see a more mean, ruthless side of her, as she's the one who starts getting into it with the fans, flipping some fans off and bringing in weapons like the door. So Kylie also dominated this match more often than not. Allie had to fight from behind through most of it. So they set a door up in the corner, and Allie hit a V-trigger to the face, followed with a superplex, and then a Death Valley driver through the door. And Kylie kicked out of that spot at 1. Kylie then begged for mercy, but then ducked a swing from a piece of door to hit a super kick. Kylie smashed the door piece over Allie's back and slammed her into another crossface. Allie got the ropes and slipped out while Ray pouted, and definitely her smile long gone. They both looked exhausted, but through flurries of fists, Catch hits a pile driver and won the match at 18 minutes 41 seconds. This was a deliberately paced match that provided some late surprises by going into what felt like a overtime period after the door spot. Allie looks resilient here, and she looks like she's ready to step up and face Ruby Soho at the pay-per-view. I gave this 3.5 stars. So Allie Catch then took the microphone, and she admitted that it's hard to talk after a match because winning is hard. She puts over her efforts again over the past few months in which she's had to face her toughest competition ever, and she says she had to work hard for every victory. She reminisces that a year ago she would have been hiding behind her cat gimmick because she didn't think that anyone would like her without it, and she's had to dig deep and ask herself what she needs to do to if her dreams come true. So now she's got her dream match against Ruby Soho at the Hammerstein Ballroom, but this is her world and she's not going to be lying down. So this was a really triumphant promo by Catch and a great moment, which sadly was interrupted by Jeff Jarrett with a guitar in hand. Allie tells him off, so he smashed the guitar over her head and it got wrapped around her neck, so he dragged her into a heap and stood over her like a hunter with his kill. So, in case you forgot, Jeff Jarrett hates women. Security then escorted Jarrett out through the hostile crowd, and I have to say, this was a hell of a deal. Jarrett has taken a lot of heat over the years for, some bad business practices, especially hogging the spotlight in TNA, but in this casting as like the dark man in black cowboy, he's really this is like a really surprisingly appealing run for him, and he gets to cash in on his resume of being like a hated figure by the online wrestling community here in a way that's making for a really appealing match with Effie. So I think he and Effie can have a really entertaining match together too. I'm looking forward to it. So then the pay-per-view main event was up next, and it was the GCW Tag Team Championship match with the defending champions, the Briscoe brothers, against the rejects of John Wayne Murdoch and Reed Bentley. So this was a war between badass chicken farmers and murderous hillbillies, because I believe the rejects is a nod to the Devil's Rejects. So they... Jay and John Wayne Murdoch had a really short feeling out process, which quickly resulted in them bringing in bundles of light tubes. They had a little standoff, and then Murdoch smashed the tubes between Jay's eyes. So Mark had seen enough at that point and rushed to the ring and take on both rejects. Mark slammed Murdoch onto the glass, but Bentley hit him with repeated shots. Jay returned to drop Bentley with a chair, and then Mark leapt off a chair to wipe out both rejects at ringside. Mark then hit a flying elbow off the apron through a chair. And then they brawled through the crowd using chairs and beer buckets, and all the furniture and props went flying as they brawled around. Mark then leapt off some bleachers to put Bentley through another chair. They brawled back to the ring where the rejects hip-tossed Jay through a door. One fan had a mysterious yellow liquid in a jug, and he kept offering it up to them to use as a weapon. And I don't know what that yellow liquid was, but the wrestlers were wise to not take him up on it. So the Briscoes and Rejects then sat together in a circle of chairs for a comedic sitting brawl where, they just kept sending chops around in circles. And then they all took one big knockout shot, Reservoir Dog style, and went down. They stumbled back to the ring to resume brawling. The Briscoes hit Bentley with a tandem neck breaker for a good 2 count. Then the Briscoes hit Murdoch with a normal neck breaker. The Rejects bridged the door onto some chairs, but flapjacked Mark next to it, not through it. But then the Rejects were able to put Mark through the door with a Super Destroyer. Then Jay had to break that pin. Jay then hit Bentley with the J Driller, while Mark slammed Murdoch onto some light tubes, and Mark's froggy elbow finished Bentley at 15 minutes, 42 seconds. So this was great. The Briscoes truly are the kings of wild, inventive, hardcore brawls, and I might be overrating this one a touch, but I had a blast watching this, and it felt like it was 4 stars. The Briscoes then cut their go-home promo for the Hammerstein Ballroom, and they issued an open challenge to any tag team in the world, which, if you've been paying attention, could be code for FTR, as they set up a feud at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So there was I guess you could call it a dark main event. There was a triple threat death match that was held in this venue on YouTube after the pay-per-view broadcast ended. And I'm going to take the opportunity to skip it this time because I've kind of had I think my appetite for death matches has been filled up lately. And if you feel like I should go back and cover that match in another video, just let me know in the comments. If you watched some of my other recent GCW reviews, I haven't been super high on the death matches as of late, and have been pondering whether I should really even be covering them if it's so outside of my wrestling sensibilities. But and this time I get the out because it wasn't really a part of the pay-per-view, though it was part of the event. I did find it on YouTube. It's only about 20 minutes, and it's a tribute to the late Marcus Crane. And so far, it's got about 12,000 views. So I'm not, it hasn't got a ton of publicity or attention compared to what some other wrestling TV shows do. But I don't know. Let me know what you think, and I'll take it to heart. So my final thoughts for the pay-per-view itself is that this was excellent. The matches were mostly great, and there was a lot of really focused storytelling setting up the Hammerstein Ballroom World on GCW pay-per-view. The first half of the show really focused on the in-ring action. The second half focused a lot on the angles and storylines. And with that hardcore brawl at the end, it kind of wrapped everything together for a really satisfying package. I thought that this show just clicked with me. The crowd was great, the venue was hot, and I thought every match on the pay-per-view served its purpose well. Even the short match between Cardona and Morton, and it started with a great scramble and ended with a great hardcore brawl. So go check this out. The replay is available on fight.tv, and they are not sponsoring this video. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to go read my written reviews at thewrestlingsite.com. Click that subscribe button, because if I get 100 subscribers, I'll start reviewing SmackDown for you every week. And I guess somebody's got to do that, right? And follow me on Twitter at DocAllenDWS or Samoro. Why not? So that's it. Thanks for watching. Take care.